It's not always easy and it's not always okay, but what I do is I allow myself that space for it to not be okay.
The music world was shocked and saddened during the summer of 2017 when Chester Bennington, lead vocalist of the band Linkin Park, died by suicide. It's been 2 years since Chester's tragic death, and in that time I've become close friends with his wife, Talinda. She has become a powerful voice and advocate for changing the culture of mental health. This week on Inner Space, we sit down to talk about Talinda's journey over the last 2 years and the work she's doing to help others.
I'm here in Los Angeles and just thrilled to have the opportunity to sit down with a very dear friend of mine, Talinda Bennington.
Hi.
Thank you for coming to be on Inner Space. Talinda, you are many amazing things. You are a wonderful mom, you're a dear friend, you're an incredible advocate for mental health and changing the way our society deals with, addresses mental health and mental illness, and that's how we met. So
Thank you for those compliments.
It's all true and more. So let's back up to 2017, to that painful summer, if we could.
Right, absolutely. Well, it's part of the story. So in July of 2017, my husband took his own life, and he did it. It was completely unexpected, and he did it at a time when we all thought he was okay. And he left me with very young children. And I quickly knew that I had to figure out a way to explain their father's death to them in a way that wasn't filled with shame, and that wasn't embarrassing, and most importantly, that they knew it wasn't their fault. So I started trying to plug into the mental health space. I tried to learn and see what organizations were out there, thought maybe I could start an organization, and then that's when I came across Give an Hour and Change Direction, and
we talked.
Yeah, instantly knew that we had the same vision, and I wanted to jump right in.
So much of that early time when you and your family were experiencing so much pain, a really powerful force in you was to take care of your kids, to make sure that they were protected from a lot of the ugliness in our society about the death of a loved one by suicide. Can you reflect on that? Why or how did you know, or maybe you didn't even know, maybe it was instinctual, that this was really important to do for them and for our society?
I think the majority of it was instinctual, to protect them, and I knew that the protection wasn't going to, they didn't need protection only in the next few months to come. I was thinking of the kids when they're in high school, and when their dad's been passed away for 10 years, and they have to tell that story. How are they going to tell that story? And I knew that Chester would never want to have left us with any burden, especially a shameful one, and I knew that he didn't choose to die because he wanted to hurt us or because he was being selfish. He was sick. And I thought that if that can be taught to other people, then they can understand about mental health and mental wellness and taking care of yourself. It'll lessen the shame, it'll open up the dialogue, just make it a more okay space to say I'm hurting. Too often families have people they lose to suicide, and they don't talk about that person anymore. It's almost like they didn't exist, and that I wasn't going to allow that to happen.
We've done panels for different organizations to talk about this important work to change culture, and people have often said to you how courageous you are, how powerful, you coming out so soon after Chester died to begin this work. Did you feel like you were being courageous?
No. I just felt I was taking one step in front of the other. I didn't think of myself as being courageous or anything really, been just doing what I had to do. And the more work I did, the more I dove into this field, the more it helped me in turn as well. So it wasn't hard per se to keep going, because I could see the healing happening within myself. I could see it happening within my family and with others as well. So
in those early weeks, days, weeks, months, a lot of people were feeling various levels of pain as a result of Chester's death. Obviously, your family most intensely. Talk about what you saw and what you helped them do, because that's a reflection of what you just said about the power of helping.
So after he passed, I was on Twitter, at night, because I couldn't sleep. And I was getting messages from fans saying that they didn't know how they would move on, that if Chester couldn't make it, how could they? And there was just message after message about people not being able to go on longer. And I knew at my core that's not what Chester would want. He loved the fans. But I also knew that I wasn't able to help everybody out myself either, because I was just barely trying to get by. So I started retweeting the tweets of the people that were saying they were hurting. And I used the hashtag LPFamily, and I would ask the family to lift up and offer words of love and support to the person that wrote that tweet. And that just took off. It somehow gave, this Twitterland a space to help and to heal through helping. And so that's how that got started and carried on.
What is that? What is the magic that happens when you started to recognize it was helping you? You see it in the community, people helping each other. What do you think that is?
Well, I think that's the answer to changing, this problem that we have of being as thick as our secrets. And I think it helps to change direction, change the direction of the culture surrounding our mental health. I think that's the answer, because if we can all listen and we can learn to listen and
share,
that's what we can do within our own circle. And then that can spread and keep going.
Talk a little bit about why you wanted to do something that would allow people to find resources, find help easier, sooner.
I lived through a marriage with someone who suffered from mental illness, and times he was okay and times he wasn't okay. And when it was scary, when he wasn't feeling so good, I felt like I had nowhere to turn to, and nor did he. I mean, the options are, calling the cops, and then, or just hoping for the best. So it wasn't until after he passed away that I realized how many resources were out there. I really quickly realized there's not one way to access these different resources. You might hear about one here or one there, or you might see an advertisement, but that may not be the resource that's right for you. So it's really important to create a space where a user can go to and have a vast amount of resources at their disposal, because they're there.
They are out there, and one size doesn't fit all. There are a lot of resources, but we aren't yet at a place in our society or anywhere in the world where there are enough.
Right.
And we're not in a place yet where people are able to say, I'm hurting, I don't even know what I need, but I need something. I mean, we're starting to see movement, but we're not there. And we are now working together to bring a new tool to the world, right?
Right.
And this new tool is called 320 Chat. I'm really excited about it because it brings the opportunity for people to chat with someone who is there to listen.
Right.
And that's, as a psychologist, a child psychologist in particular, it is so important that we hear people listen, and we are going to make sure that those listeners can also help people find resources, right?
Right. Find the resources that are out there that's suited to what they need at that time.
Right. And my hope for the 320 Chat is it'll also help us educate the universe, the world, people about these issues in general.
Right.
So how important to you is it that we're about to launch this technology-based opportunity?
It's so important to me. It's so exciting. I feel like it's like my baby almost, you know, like because it's definitely the vision in my head to have this universal space to go to, and I think it's going to make such a change. And it's really about, once it's live and working, and just spreading the word about it. That's going to be our next.
Explain the 320 and why you wanted to name this part of the campaign to change direction, 320 Changes Direction.
320 was Chester's birthday, March 20th, and I thought it was a great way to honor him in his life, and for people to associate his birthday with healing and help.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that, again, going back to the kids, is when they are older, what do you want them to think about what Mom did? How do you want them to see it when they're old enough to look back and think about all the work that you did to protect them, to help really the world? How do you want them to think of it?
I just want them to be proud. I want them to be proud of me, and I want them to know that their loss has helped so many. You know, sadly, people die every day. People we love die every single day, and it happened to happen to our family. And so we're victims of loss, but that doesn't mean that we can't be survivors through it. And I want my kids to be able to look back and know that, you know, the best situation possible came out of losing their father.
How do people respond or talk about suicide, depression, anxiety? What are you seeing out there? How are we doing so far?
People that talk to me about it speak about it along the same terms, that they're grateful for the conversation to be started. They may or may not share a story with me about somebody they've lost or their own thoughts. So I in my world, I feel like it's getting better. You know, I see changes in schools, you know, in communities. I've been asked a couple times to speak at different functions within my community. So I think it's
moving.
Yeah, I do.
And how do you think we'll know when we've completely tipped, when it's like, okay, culture change has happened, and how will we see it? What do you think?
What's that question? I think that we'll see national PSAs. I think that it'll be on you know, more thorough checklists when you go to a doctor's office. I think that companies will incorporate better mental health care availability.
And maybe we'll teach emotional well-being to kids in school.
More programs.
It'll be part of the curriculum, right?
Right, yeah.
So there are things we can really look at, and people can get involved in lots of different ways, right?
Yeah, lots of different ways. Yes.
So this series is called Inner Space, and it's about talking about our inner space, talking about what happens inside of us to get it outside. It's also about helping people understand what is helpful to us, what helps us take care of our inner space, and recognizing that, I think, is often the most important thing on the journey, on anyone's journey to being emotionally well, to healing. So I have sort of a two-part question. First part, I think people might look at you and say, oh my gosh, she's so strong, she's so courageous, she's amazing. All true, by the way, all true. But I know, as your friend, it's not always easy.
No, of course not.
And it's not everything is not always okay.
No, it's not. No, it's not always easy, and it's not always okay. But what I do is I allow myself that space for it to not be okay, or, you know. And I have a really great support system, you included, of when things get difficult for me, to be aware of situations that might trigger me, to keep myself emotionally safe. You know, I watch out for my kids with their emotional safety, and you know, it comes with the territory.
I love that concept that you use. You know, again, this is where I see we are making progress, because that notion of emotional safety, that didn't even exist a while ago. You know, people in the mental health field would talk to people and think about that, but it wasn't outside of the consultation room. But you use it just the same way we would think about our kids' physical safety, right?
Right.
I mean, that's so cool that you use that in that way.
Thank you.
So that's really important, and thank you for sharing, because we want people to understand that even if we're doing this work and on stages and tweeting and appearing, that doesn't mean that it's always easy, and it doesn't mean that the pain is completely resolved or healed.
Right, right.
Second part, so what do you do to take care of your inner space? You clearly have your support system. What else works for you?
Talking to you.
Yay! I love that.
Make a lot of phone calls to you. Ride my horse and enjoy doing fun stuff with my kids. That's not like a structured thing. Just going out and going on a hike or something like that. Sometimes it's just laying on my couch and watching TV. Just, you know, it just depends on my mood. But I make sure that I have, you know, I work, and then I have
play
duties as my mom, and then I have my me time for sure.
Yeah, and that's important, it sounds like, to have that, because it's a lot managing young kids,
right,
and career stuff, and making time for you.
Right.
Did you always know how to take care of you?
No, I was very codependent in my marriage for many, many years, and I started going to Al-Anon groups, and that's where I learned about my sickness with codependency, and that was my first understanding that, wait, I'm taking care of everybody else, I'm not taking care of me, and therefore I'm not able to take care of everybody else. So I learned that several years back, and it's still a learning process, but you know, it feels a little selfish, but it's what you have to do.
You do have, yes, and as you said, you can't take care of others if you're not taking care of you.
Right.
Any tips for people who maybe don't have a clue how to take care of themselves? Like, what's helpful to find that path? What do you think?
Gosh, I mean, I just know what worked for me, and it was finding a group. It was the meetup group that I went to. People going through the same things I was going through. So trying to get involved in an organization, or you know, a meeting or something where you won't feel alone. And then you know, if something feels selfish, that might be okay if you can take that day, you know, and be a little selfish sometimes.
Yeah, especially if that's something you know you don't do, right? That's an okay thing.
Yeah.
So our work will continue for many, many moons to come, because we got a lot of work to do. I hope you'll come back. I see you lots of times, which is wonderful. But I hope you'll come back and visit with me again on Inner Space, and we can talk about how it's going and what we're seeing. I interviewed somebody recently and asked them, you know, how do you think we're doing? And it was cool because they too said, you know, I think we're seeing some changes. We have a lot of work still to do, but I think we're making headway. Thank you for everything you do.
Oh, thank you.
And for the opportunity to be your friend and your partner in this.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Inner Space, and a special thank you to Talinda Bennington for always being so open and honest about her experience. Check out DCP Entertainment for more information about Inner Space, and be on the lookout for more episodes.